that uh, the the EP, Patriarch Bartholomew, was pressured by the CIA into making the decision into granting the other or Ukrainian Orthodox Church autocephaly to purposefully piss off the Moscow
I think that's true.
Patriarchate to
I think that's
destabilize
true.
the region. I don't think Bartholomew wanted to do that. I think he was just
Right.
being pressured by the CIA to do it.
Well, and if the logic of that Constantinople is the second Rome, which is, kind of a little bit, it was a contentious, but the logic was that the center of the empire has moved to Constantinople, right? So how could now how wouldn't it shift to Moscow, because Constantinople is in Turkey. It's
Well, that's
ninety
what the
nine
general
percent.
idea,
It's 99%
was
Muslim.
supposed to be.
But who would adjudicate that? Because it was never adjudicated in terms of the second Rome. So how would you adjudicate it in terms of the
Well, yeah,
third?
it was never like an official statement. Was never pronounced. That was just
Yeah.
kind of what everyone just sort of agreed upon.
Well, except Catholics, of
Also,
course,
because of the
disagreed.
split between the West and
I mean,
East.
not
So they,
counting the Roman Catholic Church, just with the entire East, just kind of like saw Constantinople as, the second Rome.
We're back at it with some good old thorp content. Not really much happened. It was really more or less a slow day for the Dorps. But I mean slow, I mean like genuinely actually pretty slow. Like a lot slower than the last couple of days where they've been very busy, very active. Really throughout Sunday, it, it was just quite slow compared to anything else that I've been watching. And mind you, like I more or less did a massive recap and just kind of for the most part got caught up with everything. If I did miss anything, I do apologize, but it's just been kind of like a whatever right now with the Dorbs. That's what's an interesting debate about the Russian or not the Russian, the Ukrainian church. I remember that there was this sort of semi schism within the Eastern Orthodox Church, um, dealing with the whole Russian Ukrainian war, and apparently I didn't even know that the FBI or CIA was involved in that. But it would make sense as an attempt for to piss the Russians off. Because for the longest, I know there's always been tension among the Eastern Orthodox Church. I know among the Ukrainians and the Greeks and the Russians, there's always been some type of very much outstanding tension. There's a point where I remember like hearing that a few times some of the Greek Orthodox Church or some of the smaller Orthodox Church would actually just go fully back with Rome a few times back and forth. So that's actually an interesting thing. I think that's the one thing I can say occasionally about this whole debate thing. It's like you pick up on certain information that from other people that you would normally not know unless you're very much ingrained in that whole realm of theology.
Yeah,
We
it
did,
is
yeah.
possible, right? Because it's a mixture.
Yeah.
So if you get all of one mixture and the sister gets all the other mixture,
Theoretically, you could get 100%.
whereas you're saying if it's this way, father daughter. Well, no, that would be just as true, right? Because you could just get all your mother's genetics,
Theoretically, it could be possible, yeah.
which doesn't always mean you. But you would look. You would to get 100% of your mother's genetics. You would be a clone, right?
I don't know. Would you be a clone?
Getting 100% of someone's genetics is literally what a clone is, right?
Genetics, not DNA.
Same thing, right?
No, I don't think so.
What do you think the difference between genetics and DNA is?
I think. Oh, yeah, no. You're right. No, that's just stupid. Yeah. DNA is like how your genetics look inside.
So
of
you look a lot like me, but you would be male if you were a lot like me, and you'd have a huge hand.
You don't use all of the genetics that you inherit.
They don't all manifest. Yeah, that's right. Because you could have a recessive gene. Is that what it is? Like like you have brown eyes, but
It's interesting to hear the Dwarves talk about genetics. It's not the first time, particularly Ben and I know Grace. It's not the first time they talked about it. And when it's coming to would you be a clone, from my understanding, if you got full language of your genetics from your whatever, yeah, I think that would technically mean you are a clone. Now, in the case of like certain genes, for it to be recessive, I believe that you and the other partner need to both inherit the genes themselves. So like in the case of like, I believe ginger is a recessive gene. I believe some form of albinoism. Albinoism, I think I'm saying it wrong. Is also a form of recessive. There are certain genes that are you can only inherit if both part or only trigger, I guess, if both parts of the family have. I believe blue eyed and blonde hair. Some cases are considered recessive. I'm not exactly sure. I'm not a full-on geneticist, so I don't know every exact information. But again, when it's coming to recessive and I think there's two types. Like there's recessive and there's something else. The one that is more common and you're more likely to inherit, or the other one is uncommon unless two of the partners have the exact same genes. Um, and I think those are technically some form of mutation, but I don't know. And I think it would be interesting to see Ben deep dive into more of the genetic. You could even say HPD, but I doubt that's ever gonna happen. I mean, it's not like the first time it hasn't happened, but knowing Ben and how he thinks and how he approaches things, less likely to happen. But we'll have to wait and see one day.
Well, we're already live, but
All right.
okay, let's go check. Okay. Oh,
The rational male.
KCIP is back on. Rollo Tomasi?
Yeah. No, and so that's what I was saying. I was like you guys don't, like, you idiots don't know the backstory of any of this stuff. And that's why
That's
it's like, if
all
I'm
he
the one
ever
that's petty,
says.
then why am
Yeah.
I
All he ever
allowing this?
says.
If I was really petty, I'd say,
I really know what's going on. You need to become a scholar of me. Oh, it's
You
so
don't know the
gay.
backstory.
He is so loathsome.
Shamunian.
What's this?
Or a lot of that made any sense. I know. I understand. I've kind of got the vibe of what she meant.
I think we're ending it up there. There's not really much I can do or cover with the Thorps. And truthfully, you know, all I can say is they look like a hot mess. You can just tell that they are just sweating like a bunch of piggies. But mostly due to the environment they're in right now. Mind you, if you live in the northeast or even just the East Coast in general, it is probably like boiling hot right now to the point where it's completely unbearable. Right? It's just completely unbearable. But I think that's what happens, and you can just tell that they're just miserable with everything right now. You know, to the point where I don't even know what you can do with them. I think that's where we can end it off. I guess till next time, ladies and gentlemen. God bless.